Jodie Bordeaux was born Jodie Campbell on August 11, 1969, in Lincoln, Nebraska. Now, little seems to be very known about her childhood. However, years would go by where she attended college in the University of Nebraska. So this is where she met her future husband, Sean Bordeaux. So the couple fell in love and they would eventually marry in the fall of 1995. The couple would move to a small farmhouse on the Kickapoo Indian Reservation in Kansas. While Jodie was not Native American, her husband Sean was. He was part Lakota. The Lakota is basically just a short term for Native American people, also known as the Teton Sioux. So at this point in their life, Jodie and Sean were happy. They were all smiles, and later down the road, the conversation would come up about the prospect of wanting to start a family. There was just one little small tiny problem. Jodie had trouble getting pregnant. She had several miscarriages, and obviously the couple was not happy about this, but eventually later on, the couple had announced that they were expecting a baby girl, so they were really happy about this. And they just couldn't wait to start this new family. Sean and Jodie both worked at the Golden Eagle Casino, which was the first casino on the Kickapoo Reservation. Now, Sean was working in the management team, although it was the tribal councils that made the final decisions on everything. Jodie, on the other hand, at first was well liked by her coworkers, staff, and her peers, and she would eventually be promoted to be the manager of the slot machine department, in which it was her duty to give several of her employees performance reviews. However, several employees were starting to grow resentful and hateful towards Jodie. One of the reasons being was because they believed that she was just a shitty boss, and they believed that someone who was Native American should be given that position of power, not her. And there was one specific employee who did not want her as the manager. Now, to this day, this person has not been named yet, so we'll just call him Chris for the sake of the story. Now, Chris hated Jodie. He couldn't stand her, and at one point, Jodie had begun writing him up because he was constantly showing up late. And so the two would get into fights about this, and it got so bad that Jodie had to put Chris on probation, and this would ultimately lead to Chris being terminated from his position. Now, fast forward a few weeks later after Chris had been fired, he filed a grievance towards Jodie, saying that she had been late to work a lot herself. But the only reason Jodie was late was because she had been going to doctor appointments in order to conceive a child. But none of this seemed to have mattered, and this grievance would unfortunately cause Jodie to be fired from her position as well. Now, her husband Sean was obviously upset about this because he said that Jodie had always made sure to make up for the time that she had missed. And over the next month or so, Jodie was starting to fight for her job back. And the councils who made the decisions on everything said that they would consider bringing her back. Now, Jodie was obviously happy about this, so when she heard the news that she could be brought back, everything was so exciting for her and life was just perfect. Now, when there was rumors that had begun starting to spread around the workplace that Jodie could be returning back, strange and unsettling things had begun happening around Jodie's house. When word got out that Jodie could be getting her job back, Jodie began hearing strange phone calls from around the house, where Jodie would pick up the phone, ask who it is, and the caller would just hang up. And this would just be a repeated cycle. It got so bad that Jodie had to call her mother about this to tell her what was going on. Jodie believed that there was someone standing out of her house watching from the outside. She would begin hearing strange noises, hearing footsteps as if someone was coming up on her porch. Sean then tried to reassure her that, hey, come on, baby, it's nothing. It's probably just a raccoon or something. You're probably just seeing things. Jodie would obviously not buy into this, and she would start to get really spooked. That wasn't until November 21st of 1997, when Sean and Jodie were in their living room, just watching TV, discussing bills or whatnot, when they began hearing these strange noises. Their dog also began barking at an unknown presence. This would cause Sean to go and investigate while Jodie hid in their bedroom. Sean, a bit panicked, began hearing these gunshots fire into the house. At first, he didn't know what the hell was going on, so he ran to his bedroom where his wife was, full of rage, and right as he walked into the bedroom, he saw that his wife had been fatally shot, bleeding profusely. Jodie had been shot in the head and was bleeding heavily, so then Sean rushed to grab the first thing that he could find to clean up the mess and to save his baby. Jodie had been 7 months pregnant at this time. They lived in a rural area, so it would have taken the police quite a while to arrive on the scene, But by the time they arrived, they gave the bad news to Sean that both the baby and Jodie were dead. And Sean would later report that he did hear a car peeling off after the shooting stopped. The police would then start up an investigation, one of the suspects being her husband Sean, but he was quickly ruled out. And the next suspect, Chris, who sent that grievance letter at her workplace towards Jodie being fired, he was also ruled out as a suspect. Sean would eventually move away from Kansas and move back to his home state in South Dakota. He is now a representative for his home state tribe and has also started a family of his own. The baby that he and Jodie were going to name their baby girl was going to be named Jordan Shea, so this was a really heartbreaking tragedy. Several people on the tribe has reported to come out to saying that they know who did it, but are just too scared to come out and say it. The gun that was used in the murder has never been found, and though the police do know the possible motive, the motive has never been proven as of today. And this case unfortunately remains unsolved.